Hey, this is JB. We're here to talk about what the best guitar might be for you. Okay, you know, a lot of guitarists go out and they spend a lot of money on instruments, and they end up having a whole bunch of guitars. And if you're one of those folks that you like to play different sounds and different guitars, and that's great, man. I do. Like I've got two different telecasters. One of them is a custom that has Seymour Duncan kind of humbuckers in it, and it just rocks, right? But it's everybody's kind of different. For example, this guitar is a custom-made Strat, and I have Seymour Duncans on the bridge and neck, but I've got a nice clean single coil in the middle that really allows me to be versatile on stage. I literally could, it's a light guitar, I literally could hold it on stage for an hour and a half. Wouldn't bother me at all. I can run around and get crazy with it if I want. I can wail on it. I can do a lot of things. It's very versatile. And so, plus I'm one of those guys, I like to have total control of my guitar right here instead of with the Les Paul coming up here. Now I do have a Les Paul, right? But what I want to do is try to help you guys make the right decision. And so before you go shopping, right, you have to have in mind what you're looking for. And it has to be something that you can't get through modifying one of your existing guitars. And some people are really good at and creative at, through locking tuners and putting some different pickups on, adjusting your strings. There's a lot you can do to alter your existing guitar to make it more comfortable for you. And I would definitely look at those options before you decide to go out shopping. But for the purpose of this video, what I really want you to do is get out a piece of paper, and we're going to go through a checklist of things that you should decide on or have written down before you go shopping for a guitar. This will be really, really helpful for you. All right, so to start with, what kind of music do you play, right? All right, are you a blues guy? Are you into rock? Right? Whatever you're really into, and it might be more than one style of music, right? Most of us do play a lot of different styles, particularly if you've ever played in a band. You're going from everything from Jimmy Buffett to Led Zeppelin to Doobie Brothers to whatever you're writing, for original music and that kind of thing. And so if you want a really versatile guitar, maybe a pickup setup like this would be real helpful for you, right? Where you've got Seymour Duncans on your bridge and your neck, and you've got a nice single coil in the middle. But whatever that is, write down all the different styles of music that you have that you really like to play, and then prioritize them, maybe 1 through 4 or 5, whatever that is, right? So that's the first thing you want to write down, and make sure you do that, because that's going to determine the kinds of pickups and the setups and different things that you do. The second thing is, I want you to write this down. It's 3. It's how are you using it, how are you holding your guitar, and how long are you holding it. So in other words, if I'm traveling to gigs every weekend with my guitar, do I want to lug around something that's heavy? And then when I'm on stage, do I want to have a heavy guitar hanging on me, right? Or do I want something that's more versatile and lighter, maybe like a Strat model or a Telecaster model? And that makes a difference, like it really does. Now you notice I haven't gone in to buy a brand or don't buy a brand, because I don't. Like, I really believe in, I'm going to say this right now before I continue down the checklist. Is a Gibson, brand new Gibson, Les Paul custom, look nice? Yeah, it's a beautiful guitar. Does it play well? Yeah, it plays really well. It's a great rock guitar, right? All right, but there's things that it doesn't do. Like, it can't give you the cleans that a Strat can give you. It can't give you the sound that a Strat can give you, and vice versa, right? Or a Tele, right? Or maybe there's a different model. I mean, if you're into metal, and I don't know a lot about metal guitars, so I'm not going to go into those. But clearly, maybe Jackson or something like that might be a brand. However, maybe the things that you want by the time we get to the end of this checklist aren't available in a Jackson or aren't available in something. I don't know. Like, that's why I want you to fill out the checklist, because you might be better off having a custom build when you find somebody who builds these and builds guitars and builds them well. And there's plenty of them out there, I assure you. Okay, well, let's continue down the list. So use, position, and duration is real important. Like, do you really want to hang a 9.5 pound Les Paul or other make, Dean or whatever, around your shoulder on your strap for an hour and a half or 2 hours? I promise you'll be feeling it the next day unless you work out, right? So, and then hauling it around, it's heavy too. I mean, after you've had to move your amps and everything else, and then help the drummer, and then help bass player, and then help with the PA, and you got a heavy guitar to worry about, right? And so it does make a difference after a while, particularly if you gig a lot. Now, listen, if you play in your home studio and you're sitting, 30, 45 minutes at a time, then having a heavier guitar is cool, right? That's absolutely fine. Shouldn't even be an issue. But if you're traveling around a lot, light is better. And from my perspective, variety is better. Like, get an instrument that allows you to cover a lot of songs without having to take the guitar off, put a new guitar on and off the whole gig, right? You don't want to have to do that. Okay. What kind of we talk about feel, right? And so feel can be a number of things. It can be your from your fretboard to how the guitar feels when you hold it. Like, does it feel like it's an extension of you? Like, for me, I love Teles, I love Strats, I love Les Pauls, but when I love PRS too. I've got a real nice custom 24. But at the end of the day, I would have to say the Strat's my favorite, and that's my personal favorite. What's yours? Like, and just think about the body. We're not talking about a Fender or what we're talking about is what's your favorite body and what's your favorite neck style, right? And that's really, really important because you don't want a guitar that feels awkward, right? And a lot of times people will go through the catalog and they'll look at Sweetwater or Musician's Friend or whatever, and they'll see something, man, like there's a Flying V, that would be great. Then they get it and it weighs 10 pounds, right? And it's real awkward, right? And I'm not knocking Flying Vs, they're great. Right? I'm just like throwing examples out to get you to think. It's important what kind of body the guitar fits me the most, right? For me, it's a Strat, but again, I love my Teles too, and I love my PRS. I like everything, but you're talking about buying the best guitar for you. So which body looks and feels the best? Which one is when you put it on, you don't feel awkward at all, and you're ready to rock, right? That's what you're looking for. All right, enough on that. Fret access. Are you looking for 24 frets? Is that important to you? Like a lot of folks that really spend a lot of time way up high on the fretboard, man, that's important. Like, they need to have that extra access. They want to go really loud, particularly if they've got a whammy bar, and it's important. For other people, it's not. And I know plenty of guitarists that are awesome that rarely go way up high. It just depends on what your preference is, right? If you want a 24 fret, then you should put that down. That should be an interesting thing. And then what the fret size is, how big or how long are your fingers, how fat are your fingers. I have pretty fat fingers, but I'm good with just the standard Fender fretboard. It works for me, and I don't usually have a problem with it. But the type of or the size of the frets can make a difference too. Like if you have fat fingers like me, and you play way up high on the fretboard, then you don't want your frets to be that big. Like, it's really, really hard to accurately pick your notes, especially if you're picking fast, when your fingertips fatter than the fret, right? It's important, so make sure you write it down. Like, if high access is important, if your fingers are short, like mine are, right? See, I'm okay right here, right? I'm okay at the fattest section or the largest section or gap between my frets here. I'm good. This guitar is fine. I'm happy with it. But there are some guitars where the width between the frets is pretty sizable, particularly up in this area. And if you're doing a lot of chording, particularly open chording and then maybe bar chording up in this end of the fretboard, if the frets are too big, then your fingers are constantly stretching. I'm telling you, it gets sore after a while. So really important to just make sure that the style of guitar fits what you're trying to do, and have that conversation, like write it down and make sure you have that conversation with whoever is building or selling you a guitar. It's real important. What kind of pick guard do you like? Like, for this, black is beautiful. Like, I love this guitar. This is one of my favorite guitars. I had a guy make this for me. And the pick guard is important if you're using a pick. If you finger pick, great, fantastic. Then maybe it's not a big of a deal. It enhances the look of the guitar, and if you need a pick guard, you need to make sure that you have one and that it works well with the overall look of the guitar as well. So if the pick guard's important, make sure you write that down, and then make sure that it looks well with the guitar. It looks good with the guitar. Ease of play and action, right? I absolutely detest guitars that are really hard to play. Like, and I'll practice 2 and 3 hours a day sometimes. But all of my guitars are very, very easy to play. I use 9s on my fingers, my Fenders and Fender Customs. I use 9.5 on my Gibsons and other guitars. So, but ease of play and action is really important to me. I don't like my strings to be brittly tight and so where I can't bend. You want to be able to bend your guitar, bend your strings. Okay, so it's important to understand and write that down. Tuning. Do you have a guitar that stays in tune? A lot of people don't, right? And so is it important when you're buying a guitar to have locking tuners? I have locking tuners on every guitar that I play, right? Because I am really, really rough on strings when I play, and I absolutely need to keep it in tune. I can't afford to be stopping and tuning between songs, and you probably can't either. Locking tuners are always a fantastic idea, right? And so maybe that's something you write down. Well, I want a guitar that stays in tune, right? We talked about versatility a little bit. So versatility tied to exactly the styles that you're playing. And I'm bringing this up twice because I want you to make sure that you get the right pickups on your guitar, right? Don't fall in love with some name brand guitar because it looks great on the website, right? You need to know how it sounds and how it's going to sound with the kind of equipment that you play, right? We're not going to get into solid state versus tube. Tube always wins, right? But even for a solid state player that's using a multi effects board, you can get a guitar that sounds really, really good with that. And I practice with solid state because I like to save my tubes for if and when I'm out playing. But the bottom line is you want the guitar to do exactly and sound exactly the way you want it, with every style of music that you play, or as many as possible, because that's the best guitar for you, right? And so just real important that from a versatility standpoint, and listen, if you're straight metal, then great. Like, you ought to be able to go in and get what you want. Everything sounds great. I've got a Tele that I literally could play metal on all day long. But I've got the pickups on it that'll do it, right? They're humbuckers. They're not single coil like a standard Tele. Whatever it is, and that goes back to kind of what the feel is, what my favorite feel is, and what your favorite feel is. Like, it's real important that you have a guitar that's versatile. The other thing is, when you're on stage, right, you don't always have time to switch guitars. So you want a guitar that will, play the slow songs, the blues songs, the jazz songs, the rock songs, right? And if you can have a guitar that does all that for you, then boom, like that's the best guitar for you in my book, right? What about controls and location of your controls? So this guitar, I've got everything right here. I've got my blade, I've got my tone and my volume, I've got my whammy bar. It's all right here where I pick, right? Whereas a Les Paul might have your pickup switcher will be up here. Everything's right here, right? And for me, that's important, right? I like things simple, and particularly if you're gigging a lot, you should like things simple too. Like you don't. Well, I'll tell you, I had an experience once. I had a guitar that I bought, and it had all kinds of bells and whistles on it. Had the 9-volt in the back. Had all kinds of different switching options. I played it out a couple of times, and man, it malfunctioned. A couple of practices, it malfunctioned a number of times. It just wasn't a good experience. So, particularly if you're gigging, you need a reliable and versatile guitar. And even if you're playing in the studio, like you don't want to be in the middle of a recording and hit something on your guitar, a control or something, and the battery's dead, or it doesn't sound good, or doesn't sound like it normally does, and then you got to go back and re-record everything, right? So having a guitar that's really simple in terms of how you manage and play it, and reliable, is critical, absolutely critical. All right, let's get to color. All right, for me, I like black. Maybe a little flare, right? You like the red, like the little fire. That's good, right? What color do you play? Like, figure that out. Like, what's your best color? Get in front of the mirror. Yep, do it. Get in front of the mirror. Wear what you wear when you play out, and try some different guitars with different colors and see what really looks good on you and what doesn't. It's important, right? So, and then finally, there's your budget. Like, what's your budget? For a lot of the things that we've just talked about, just going through this whole checklist, and budget's the last, it's important to realize that if you're going to go for a big name brand guitar, you're probably going to pay about double what you would pay to somebody who would make and build a guitar for you. Now, building guitars takes about 2.5 months. Like, it takes a while. You got to find somebody who's reputable. And if you guys need some suggestions, I've got a name for you. So just message me separately. But it's important to understand that you're going to save a lot of money if you have the guitar built. Now, if you've got the money to go out and put $4,000 down on a brand new custom, whether it's a Fender or a Gibson or what have you, then, by all means, or maybe it's a Martin, maybe you're an acoustic player. That's great, right? But you want to make sure that it's a highly rated guitar, and you probably should try to go play one before you spend the money on it. Whereas if you order a guitar, and again, it's not foolproof, there probably are people out there that don't build them well. Those aren't the people I know. But it's important that you bring this checklist, because that tells them exactly what you're looking for. They're going to want to know, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to summarize the whole checklist real quick. The type of music you play, and what the priority, like what are the main 2 or 3 styles that you play? How are you going to use it? How long are you going to hold it? We get into position and duration. How are you going to hold it? Are you standing? Are you sitting? How does it feel? What's your like comfort zone? Like, what guitar feels really good to you and helps you be the best you can be? Fret access, is it important? Do you need a pick guard? Always want to say, yeah, I want a pick guard. Ease of play, high action, low action. What are you looking for there? You want locking tuners? Like, I'd highly recommend locking tuners, especially if you're getting electric. How versatile is it, right? Where are the controls? Do you want them? Do you want all the controls, like where you can get at them? Do you want a whammy bar? Like, is that important? Do you want a whammy bar? Then you end up with this in the back. with the springs, right? But the whammy bars are fun. Like, they're a lot of fun. If that's in your normal playing style, then, you know, by all means, have that added. The color, like what looks good on you, and you're probably laughing like, style's important, right? The guitars that look the best on you are the ones that are going to impress when you're on stage or playing for your girlfriend or whatever, or your boyfriend. So, and then what's your budget? That's probably the critical question, is what's your budget? If you take this checklist and you fill it out to somebody who is an experienced guitar builder, right? They will know exactly what to build it for you, and I guarantee they probably will come in maybe right around $2,000 or just a little less. It's important. If you go to Guitar Center, and listen, I'm not knocking anybody, they're going to get you the guitar you want, but it's going to be a custom, right? And it's going to cost a lot more. If you're into that and that's what you want, that's fine. The only thing that I would ask that you do is think through, like, when you see that beautiful custom guitar, whatever model you want, right? Ask yourself, yeah, am I really willing to pay $2,000 more for this, or can I find a good guitar builder who could build me exactly what I wanted based on this checklist for $2,000 less, right? And again, the money is going to be the money. If you can find a better deal, that's great. Like, there's other ways. You don't have to buy a guitar brand new. I understand that. Unfortunately, the older customs, particularly if they're in good shape, generally cost as much or more than the brand new ones, and sometimes a lot more. So a lot of things to think about. So I hope this was helpful for you. And if you're going to buy a new guitar, please make sure that you go through and you put your checklist together. There may be a couple other things that you think of as you're going through the checklist and think, man, I got to put this down. Man, do it. Like this list is not exhaustive. There's plenty of other ideas that you can have that you put into this checklist, but it's important that you have it, regardless of where you go to buy it. And again, I'm not sanctioning buy from somebody who builds them, and I'm not against buying from brand new guitars from stores like Musician's Friend, Sweetwater, Guitar Center. They're all great. Like, they will line you up with the best guitar as long as they know exactly what you're looking for. The only thing I'm suggesting is that you may be able to save quite a bit of money and get something more in line with exactly what you want if you go to somebody who builds these and understands and have some experience building them. So again, I know a guy who does a real good job. He built this one, and if you want to know want more information on him, I'd be happy to message you that separately. So hope this was helpful, and good luck on your next purchase, man. Get the best guitar you can. Please leave messages. Would love to have your feedback. Take care. Rock on.